Bastards! Today we're going to talk about in how to survive a war as a civilian. This part will be about booby traps and munitions. Yeah, because during a war, a lot of weaponry and gear gets scattered around, get lost, or it might be found next to a dead body, or it's been put somewhere deliberately for some reason. So we're going to talk about how to survive as a civilian. I will show you several ways one could encounter booby traps and munitions. I will show you or give you some tips on how to handle those, so you don't get hurt or in worst case get maimed or killed. So first of all, if you're going to a war, if you're in a area where has been war, has been fightings, or when when the friendly forces are fleeing, chances are that even the friendly forces would have left behind booby traps for the incoming enemy forces. The other way is also possible that the enemy forces leaving and they leave booby traps behind. In most cases, when enemy forces leave, there will be more booby traps because they are not the party. They are not the party of the local people. So that's less that give them more disconnection with possible casualties that will fall among civilians. So that's something to watch out for. First thing, if you live in an area that is prone to booby traps, landmines, and such, always have the next items on your body. I would suggest first item, a cell phone. This has several benefits. First of all, let's say you're stepped in a minefield, then you can perhaps call for help for authorities so they can get you out on a safe way. You can leave them. You can try to do an SOS signal. On the end of the minefield, you see someone, and you can draw their attention with, especially in the night, with waving with the flashlight or the lit up LED screen from your cell phone. Or you can, like I said, call for help in case someone got hurt or is heavily injured by a landmine or another type of booby trap. Always have a cell phone. What you also can do with the cell phone, I will show you later on. But it's like before you open a door through through the edge, you can try to shine with the flashlight of your cell phone to see if there are any wires to be seen. So that's another way, so you can use this flashlight. The next thing I would suggest is, I always keep these in my EDC bag. Israeli bandages. You've probably seen these a lot in my previous videos. These are something between a tourniquet and pressure bandages, just in case you or somebody else get hurt, because mostly booby traps aren't specifically meant to kill. Most booby traps are designed to maim. Why? Two reasons actually. Booby traps are meant to injure a soldier, because when a soldier is injured, you need two other soldiers to carry and take care of that person to get first aid. So with one booby trap that is succeeded, three soldiers are actually technically out of the battle, and that's the point of booby traps actually in a military doctrine. So always have a tourniquet ready. Israeli bandages ready in your EDC bag, and also try to put it in a place where you can get easy access to. If you live in an area where it's prone to have booby traps or landmines or other explosives that are left behind, or that are not being exploded after being fired, which we call a dud. Try to put it on your body. Put Israeli bandages in your pocket. Put it on the sling or the slings of your backpacks. So when something's happened, you can directly take it ready before, so you don't have to carry back and try to look for it or put the back of your back to say. So that's something you need to have ready. This is called tactical medical appliances. Next thing, tourniquets. This is a TAC tourniquet. That is more for most booby traps will affect the limbs, like the arms and especially the legs. for incapacitating enemy soldier, and unfortunately sometimes, yeah, civilians. So if you are wounded, yeah, always try to bind it across the arm or the legs, depends on when you're hurt. So a tourniquet can be a lifesaver when a major artery is being struck. Um, Next thing is where did I put it also in my EDC bag. Just a multi-tool. With the multi-tool you can do a lot of things. You can try to, in case you want to escape from a building that is booby-trapped, you can, yeah, you don't have to do like the movies, like the red wire, but you can cut the electrical, if you have some knowledge of how electrical appliances and bomb making works. Once you get the basic, you can normally just try to how do you say this? Try to I don't know what the English word for it is. When you try to clear up, when you try to stop a bomb from going off, like there is a battery, you can try to cut the wire that leads the battery feeds to the bomb material. So that's something you can do, but only do this as a last resort, because if the bomb maker is a little bit more technical and experienced, they have ways to booby trap a booby trap, which means if somebody tries to cut some wires to make the bomb safe again, they could have put it in the electrical in parallel, which means they can still explode. So always be careful with this. Or you can just do some other things with this. Also, for when you get wounded, you can try to cut open some clothing around the area that is being struck, so it's easier to treat a wound and put pressure on it. So those are things you can do when you are somewhere prepared. These are the things that I would recommend to always have you when you live in a booby-trapped or landmines or war zone, always on your body. Now we're going to look at several ways where you can expect bombs, how you can expect them, and how to deal with them if you want to make it out safely. So the moment you notice that you're in a minefield, the first thing to do is stop moving. Just stop moving around. Just don't move your feet, because it could be a few millimeters that your feet is away from a detonator. Depends on what kind of landmine there is, but what sure is you don't want to step on it. So let's say that I discovered that I'm now in a minefield for some reason. What can you do? Well, first of all, if you have the chance, backtrack. Just stand up and try to, if your footprints are still visible, you can try to get back and try to backstep the way out of the minefield till you're in a certain safe area. If you do not have this, like you can see here now, this is grass. Yeah, it's hard to find footprints in here, and even if you find some prints, they're half and you could step beside it, so that's a big risk. If you want to get out of a minefield, there's a way to clear out. What you need is something long and sturdy, and like if you look around, you can find an object close by. Here, this is just perhaps something stupid, but just a stick could help a lot. What you wanna do is, yeah, you could use a stick. You could use a hard piece of metal wire that you straighten out till you got something this long, or you can use your multi-tool, or in case if you have a long knife, like I got here for example. Just like in the army, there is a way to clear out a minefield, and that's just to put your a long sturdy object like a knife or a stick or a metal wire, and try to get it stable, like half swording. Put it under an angle of 30 degrees, and try to carefully prod the way in front of you, and that way you
will not usually not hit the detonator of the mine. So like you can see, try to clear a path. Just, I know this method will take a lot of time, but it's one of the more safer ways to get out of a minefield. I know it will take a long time, but it's better safe than sorry. And this is here is the least risk involved. So make a path just as wide as your body. You don't have to clear the whole minefield. Just roll around, and if you hit something hard, like you feel something hard, it could just be a rock, or even worse, or just a hard piece of earth. But do not take the chances. You treat this place like there is a mine, and try to find a way to mark it. What you perhaps can do is, if you you feel something hard, or oh, there's a mine, in a safe zone that you already put next to it, a stick or something in the ground. So you mark it, so you have marked it already, for in case you need to go back for some reason, or for in the future time where demolition experts could disarm the minefield. It could help them. So that's a way. Try to make a path, like I said. In the beginning, it will be very, like I said, it will take a long time, and some people it's very hard to get to keep in balance. You will eventually get tired, or there is wind, or something else will try to push you over. So always try to find a stable way to sit. In the beginning, you will have to start off with the way that you discovered the minefield, and gradually go forward. The farther you go, the more space you have. So if I cleared this path and I'm still going in front, you can just get on your knees and try to. That way, it's less exhausting when you try to go further. And in worst cases, when you're really going to get tired, lie down on your stomach and try to clear it all the way from in forward that way. Yeah, so this is how you get out of a minefield in an improvised way. Yeah, and it is one of the ways that there's less risk, but it will take a lot of time. So be prepared for that. Not to mention the physical, I mean the psychological stress that comes with it. So be very prepared for that, and don't rush. Especially do not rush if you use this method. If you're in a minefield, you should look for several signs to know where there could be a mine. One of the most easy ways is just if you find a patch of dirt that is above the grass that has been grown. That's usually an indication that somewhere here or somewhere else mines were buried, and yeah, watch out for that. Those are little signs you can know that something has been buried here. So be very careful about that. Look for signs of shiny objects, or something that is out of the ordinary, like in the wild, in nature, something straight and shiny is not that common. So if you try to look carefully, always be alert, and you will find something shiny, like here, which we have seen that not many people with, but that's the point of landmines and booby traps. So yeah, it could be something just as simple like this that could be a landmine. So always watch your surrounding is what I'm trying to say. In an area that is probably being booby trapped or have mines in it, this is a big red flag. Every everything in front of an entrance or an exit could be probably be booby trapped. It's the most strategic way. In several ways it could be. It could just be buried in the ground, or put beneath something that you certainly would step on, or in worst case just under a welcoming mat, or just a mat. Could explosive or a trigger to an explosive or a landmine be put underneath it. So yeah, I don't say you have to be paranoid, but yeah, this is a very likely place where you would find booby traps or landmines during a war. So before entering a building, it's always handy to do the next things to ensure that you will not be harmed by a booby trap or encounter one. So first of all, try to look at what sort of building it is. Is this a building where recently military have been? Is it abandoned? Those are things that could make it more probably that there will be booby traps inside of it. Are there reports of booby traps in this particular area? So if the answer is to those are yes, then try to avoid buildings that you are not that you do not know about what's inside of it. If you must get inside of a building, yeah, several things you need to watch out for. Yeah. First of all, it could be that behind the how do you say this, the door handle could be like yet again a glass with a grenade, but it's less probable, but it's something you need to watch out for. Or it could detonate with electrical wires connected to a battery together, put it on the other side together, and the moment you put this down, a booby trap might explode. But yeah, it's still behind the door, so yeah, that's less probably, but it's just something you need to do for watch out. If you must do something like this, try to first feel lightly if there is something on the other side. If you feel a lot of pressure going against it, or hear some weird noises before opening, that could be an indication that there is a booby trap connected with the other side of the door handle. If it's not, try to gently open the door and try to look all the way if there is already something fishy visible. Try to also look or feel lightly on the other sides if there is something weird going on. What you actually can do is to make it more easily is try to get a very light piece of paper and try to already feel something light. Usually this is not enough to make something like a fishing wire go off. So go along the way and try to find if there is something fishy going on, and this way you can get all the way to the other side. So nothing like this. So you can try to open it a little bit more. What you can do in case if you do not have a piece of paper or something like that, you can take your cell phone and you can try to make the flashlight go off, and that way you can try to shine all the way through. What's the point of this? If there is something something very invisible like fishing wire which cannot almost not be seen, so if you put light across it you will get some reflection of it usually, even with fishing wire. So try to go all the way around it and try to look for the signs. As there is still nothing behind it, you may open it more. Usually the booby traps are around the corner where it's less visible or on the left, so try to till you can get your head through and try to look if there's nothing in the corner of the door, nothing above it, especially some mechanism like you can perhaps see this thing to make it more easily or to close the door automatically. This could be tripped with electrical wires that are connected to a battery, so be very carefully about those. So if there is nothing to see down here, you can try to peek with your head around the corner if there is nothing suspicious down here. And another thing I want to mention is, like I said before, the doormat could be a very dangerous place. So never step on the doormat, because perhaps there is a tile under it. Under a tile or something is a mine placed, or a grenade, or some electrical wires connected to a batteries and an explosive. If you put pressure on this and two connecting wires are pushed together, so those are things you need to watch out for before entering a building. So if you just got a door or something, could be any door actually, yeah, there could be IED put behind it. It could be connected with electrical wire to and feed in with the battery, or it could be an impact detonator. We will talk about the electric wire later on, but I will show you some simple way a mortar could be made as a IED. So we're going to the back of the door. Here you can see the mortar just laying down. This is a mortar with an impact detonator. So if somebody would just open the door, and like you can see, the detonator could be impacted that way, and yeah, it could be a big explosion. So be very carefully about that way. Even if there is nothing around the door that could be booby trapped, it could still be deeper in, because you have to open the door open on a certain way, and if there's nothing between the side of the doors, it could give a false sense of safety. So never open the door more than you need it, is what I'm trying to say, or look behind it with your head before going all the way in, is what I'm trying to say. So if you find a piece of munition that hasn't gone off, like in case this is a mortar that went into the ground and did not explode, do not come near it. Do not attempt to disarm it or remove it, because even the slightest shivering in the ground around it could still trigger the detonation. So you don't want that to happen. Stay away from it. Call the authorities or the close by military so they can send a demolition expert to disarm this piece of munition that has not gone off. One of the simple ways to make a booby trap out of grenades are just in a glass, put in a glass without a pin. If you would just walk through this door from the other side, you will not see this. This is, like you can see, just a glass with a grenade in it, where the pin is put out. As you can see, the slightest thing that this will fall, it will make the grenade go off, make the safety pin go loose. So before entering a building, always look across all the way across the door, and if you open the door slightly, look around it, because these things could be hiding above, on the side, or anywhere else, or be bounded with it with a piece of rope, which I'll show you in a minute. But that is one effective way, because the glass will break and the grenade will go off. So be very carefully if you walk into a building where enemy forces would have used such a thing. So to show the effectiveness of a grenade into binded with a piece of rope, if you can see, this is some nylon fishing string. It's almost not visible, even if you open up the door a little bit. It's very hard to see this wire, especially if you don't expect it. It's connected with this, with a grenade in the glass, and now we'll show you how it would go off if you open the door, just like that. And now the safety latch has gone off and the grenade is detonated, and you stepped inside and it gone kaboom. So this is just a lesson to learn how effective a booby trap could be, and how it could be made with just some simple tools to make it more effectiveness. So as a civilian, be very, very carefully about these kind of booby traps when you walk into a war zone. So a stove is also a very dangerous place where that could be booby trapped, because if you could get something like plastic explosives or conventional munitions, you can put it in the back of the stove after open it, and soldiers or civilians who want to use the stove can put wood inside of the stove, start to burn it, and will not see the explosives that are way in the back. It will get heated and it will go boom. So stoves are very sensitive and prone to be booby trapped. Just something simple as a fridge door, could also be booby trapped. So be very carefully about opening utilities that will draw attention from either a hungry soldier or who fancy a pint. So something simple as a fridge could be booby trapped or rigged. Something like a painting that is a little bit tilted could be rigged with electric wire going from the side and on a fixed poster on the behind the painting. Those connected to a battery and explosive could make a IED explode. This is something that is notorious during World War II, where it was the plan that the Germans would place booby traps on behind paintings, and the idea was that a regular soldier would not care about if a painting was tilted, but officers were more people of class and would most likely more appreciate art. So if they see a tilted painting, an officer would put it more right, detonate the thing, and go explode. So be very carefully, because those are some psychological tricks and targeting ways for booby traps that you need to watch out for and not be a victim of.
So another type of booby trap is just a gun rigged to a fixed position, and the trigger is connected with a rope against the door. I will now show you how this simple. Don't worry, this is an empty gun, so it will not fire live ammunition. So imagine this rope is connected to the door. It's fixed on this chair, and it's connected with trigger the rope. So if somebody opens the door from the other side, let's see what it will give. Like you can see, the gun went off, and the person who would open the door is now injured, or in worst case, death. So this is just to show you how how improvisation and a twisted mind could be a very deadly combination. So as a civilian, you need to be especially prepared and be watchful for it, because military are trained for this kind of stuff. So be very carefully walking around in war zones.
So now we're going to talk about military gear you might find on the battlefield that could be rigged and would be most likely rigged for being a booby trap or IED. These are just some things. If you find military crates like these on the battlefield, even if they have like medical emblems on that might help the population, be very, very careful about it. But because enemy soldiers would rig those so their enemies could not use their supplies that they must have left behind. These are especially as dangerous when the enemy had to hastily retreat. So be very carefully about these. These are some other things. Ammo crates. It's always interesting for enemy soldiers to have ammo. So as a civilian, never pick up enemy weapons. Like I said before in the previous video, do not grab enemy gear or weapons, because first of all, you could be seen as a potential enemy for whichever party is around, and these ammo cases could easily be rigged with an explosive. So do not touch these kind of crates when you find them in war. Next thing is a rifle. If you did it just a Lee Enfield, but a rifle could be rigged in many ways. One way it could be rigged is just that the barrel is being how do you say this? They have put something in the barrel, and if you fire the gun, the gas cannot escape, and this whole area will explode, and the person who fired the gun that has been rigged, or how do you say this? Been rigged. All these pieces of metal could fly in your face like splinters, big pieces of metal, and burn you, and even burn your hands if the barrel explodes when you grab this. So that's one way a gun could be rigged for being a booby trapped. Another thing is the ammo. Well, what an operation during the Vietnam War was that special forces of America would find enemy bodies, and they would put a special kind of bullet in the ammunition, and these like magazines, or they put individual bullets inside of the enemy soldiers in their combat gear, in the lost weapons. And what would these things do? These were the gunpowder in those special rounds or magazines were exchanged with high explosives. So if the enemy soldier would find the body of their own that was rigged with this kind of faulty with this sabotage ammo, or they find some supply routes or caches were also sabotaged by these special forces, the next time the enemy soldier grabbed one of those magazines over their bullets, put it inside of their gun, fired it, and because of the overpressure and the explosive inside of the bullet instead of gunpowder will explode, and it will maim and even kill the person who tried to fire it. So that was either a psychological way to for the enemy to distrust their gear and to be not be keen to use it, or to make enemy soldier wounded, so they will take out of the battle. So rigged sabotaged firearms are a real danger, so do not pick them up. Like I said, if you find one of these ammo things, the ammunition could be rigged. So even if it's just laying on the ground, it could be put on top of a mine. So if you take it off, or it's been rigged, you take it off, pick it up, it goes explode. The same thing goes for finding bodies of enemy soldiers, because it happened a lot even during the retreats in World War II, and especially in Vietnam. It was notorious that dead soldiers of Americans were rigged with explosives or a landmine or a hand grenade without a pin. So the moment American soldier tried to turn around the body or to pick it up for extraction, it would trigger the explosive, and you got one dead or wounded soldier next to the other body. And also the psychological effects are tremendous for the morale of the soldiers around. So be very carefully about picking these up. Other things, sabotage grenades, or other weaponry, faulty ammunition. These are all things that could be very dangerous. Another point I want to make about this kind of weaponry is even if it's not sabotaged, do not pick it up, because you do not really know how to use it. If it's either a firearm, a rocket launcher, hand grenades, or just over a mortar, because you do not know if it's primed or not and how to use it safely. I've tried to make some of my friends try to make it this M72 rocket launcher ready for firing. Don't worry, it's not loaded, but just to see how they would how they would think to use it and make it prime when they fire it in need. And I can tell you, most people did not know how to prime the grenade launcher without blowing themselves up or misfiring the target. So that's something you need to watch out for as a civilian. You are not being trained to use the military gear and weaponry. To be very careful about that. Another point I want to make is, what was the point? Learn your children to distrust this kind of weaponry. If they show them pictures and say that they need to stay away from it because it could be dangerous, and go boom, to say. So if you try to show children, so a picture of mortars, grenade launchers, ammo cages, weapons, bullets, magazines, and even military rations, try to learn them to distrust those things. So because children are always curious, and they try to play with everything they see. So that's very dangerous for a child to walk around in a war zone. You cannot. Many children every year get killed or maimed because of these of their young curiosity. So that's what I'm trying to make sure about it. Another thing is, like I said, with food rations, this could also be sabotaged or rigged with explosives. So if you're hungry, think twice before picking this kind of supplies up from military. So yeah, that is something very important stuff. So these were all some a few types of booby traps and things you could watch out for as a civilian in a war zone, especially not only during battles but especially after battles, when the forces are fled. I would suggest to look into this subject because there are millions of ways to make booby traps. Like I said, improvisation and a twisted mind, especially when they are trained, are a deadly combination. So, what I would suggest is enlighten yourself about these kind of subjects. There are several military manuals that could I would not say to train you to make those bombs, IEDs, booby traps and such, but to learn to how recognize them, learn the doctrines, learn how it fits technical and what's mostly it would be used. So these are just a few, just a special forces handbook. These guys are a lot busy with a lot of booby traps. Improvised munition handbooks. This is how you can how guerrillas would make booby traps and explosives. So if you dig into this sort of stuff, you will start to learn how to recognize it and how to avoid it. And this is the official U.S. Army guide to booby traps. This has a lot of ways how America would deal with booby traps, or even set up booby traps, and with a lot of examples that is been used in recently times and before. So I would try to learn about. If you learn how to become a monster, you will know how to avoid monsters. It's perhaps a good saying in this thing, because booby traps, IEDs, landmines are horrible weapons of war, and it causes more civilians death and wounded than military, because military are trained to learn to recognize these and how to dismantle them or to avoid them. Civilians are not, and that's why they are the biggest casualties from this type of weapons. So if you yet again, knowledge is power, learn yourself about it. And this was the video about booby traps and ammunitions for how to survive a war as a civilian. Like, subscribe, I would appreciate it, and I hope you learned something from this, and that you will never have to come face to face with such weapons, and that you do not know anyone who has been gone through those things. So I hope you learned something from it. So see you in the next video.